Without further ado, Mr. Kristian Nairn himself.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi. How are you doing? You good? So I had this wonderful speech prepared, and then I discovered I didn't really have to do a speech, so I'm going to do it anyway. So if you're bored, just leave. I actually wrote this speech on a plane, and there was horrible turbulence, so I can't actually read the writing. And I'm not wearing my glasses, so this is going to be fun. So firstly, thank you guys. I looked at the list of recipients of this award, and I really couldn't figure out how my name ended up in there, but I'm really glad it did, so thank you. I'm definitely not accustomed to giving speeches, especially on myself. It's definitely a different experience. And there's so many words involved in speeches, and I'm just not used to handling more than one. You know, I'm just lucky that my 6 years on Game of Thrones didn't leave me with a vocabulary intolerance. But for these things, where do you start? Where do I start? I'm going to sit down, guys, because I can't see you. It's okay. There, that's much better, much more civilized. So yeah, it's been quite a ride, really. Like even the regular boring part of my life, where I worked in Sainsbury's stacking toilet roll shelves, you know, that was always viewed from a slightly different, slightly taller perspective, I think. I always sort of considered myself a bit of an outsider. I mean, not in a sort of boo-hoo sort of way, but yeah, it definitely has a different perspective on the world. I was born in Belfast, just outside Belfast actually, in a little town called Lisburn, which is now a city for some unknown reason. And yeah, I had a great, happy, largely sheltered childhood, which my mother and grandmother worked very hard to provide for me. And my mum, who's here today, oh God, right in front of me. Well, that's awkward. And quickly change what I've written. No, Mum was and still is a single parent, but I never wanted for anything. And it's only with hindsight that I realised how hard that must have been. So thank you. I didn't realise I'd be like this. Well, thank you seriously for your incredible strength, your dignity, and your fighting spirit that you've given me. Thank you so much. So I was never really in any doubt of who or what I am. When my childhood friends used to rhapsodize over Princess Leia's cinnamon swirl hairdo, I was definitely more interested in Luke's lightsaber. Well, sorry, Mom. I definitely have my own lightsaber now. But I just, you know, as I was a child, you know, you don't know what it is. And that's why I think the whole nature versus nurture thing, I just didn't know what it was. I didn't have a name for it. I just knew that I wanted to be special friends with Luke Skywalker and fight the dark side with him. So yeah, I never doubted that I would be accepted because I think I was a fairly accepting child. And I expected that of other people as well. I didn't see why they wouldn't accept me. And I was right, largely I was accepted, and I'm really lucky for that. And I know not everyone has that. So I was very lucky. I actually would have had more difficulty accepting my size and my personal appearance, because that's the thing that everyday people constantly remind you of. And people do. But there was a turning point. Probably in my late teens or early 20s when I just thought, fuck this, really. And things changed and my confidence all sort of kicked in and I just viewed things slightly differently. And I've really gone off book now. How did this happen? yeah, so I wasn't so self-conscious. Music was always a huge part of my life. It was my passion and release, and I had been learning piano from about 7 or 8 years old. Something like that. Audience participation and everything here. From an early age, we'll say early age. But then I discovered the guitar in my early teens, I believe, and I also discovered heavy metal, and that changed everything. Although, really, and this is the truth, an embarrassing truth, for the first entire year of being a guitar player, I didn't even know how to tune the guitar. I just stood in front of the mirror, miming along to my favourite, like, Poison or Megadeth songs. How embarrassing. So I eventually learned how to play, but I never dreamt that that would lead me on stage with Scissor Sisters, Calvin Harris before he became a DJ, and people like Milo, Alpha Beat. But you know, I think it's weird, on my career trajectory, I don't think I'm finished with that yet. I still see myself in like an 80s hair glam metal band with really inappropriately tight leggings, which have been sprayed on and from a spray can. I still see that in my future, but I don't know how that's going to happen, and that I've never been sure of how things are going to happen in my life, and that's one thing I've been proud of myself. I've never been afraid to follow a rabbit down a hole that I wasn't aware of what was going to happen. And that's when people ask me for advice these days, I don't really feel qualified to give unsolicited advice, but the one thing I do say is let your dreams evolve. I started out wanting to be a guitar player, and that somehow changed into being a DJ, a drag queen, and now an actor, and it all feels the same. It's all the same for me. I feel just as fulfilled doing what I'm doing now as I did with the guitar. So let your dreams breathe. Don't let go of them by any stretch of the imagination, but give them space to go off in tangents, because it can be very rewarding. I studied from a secondary education at Methodist College in Belfast. Anyone go there? No? I'm about to say something horrible about it. I would love to say that I thrived and enjoyed my time there, but I went there because we had heard, my mother and I had heard they had a great music department, and that was always what I wanted to do, obviously. And when they saw me, they took one look and said, "We want him to play rugby." But being a big queen, I did not want to play rugby. I didn't want to get up on Saturday morning and roll around in ice cold mud. No, thank you. So I did not thrive on the rugby pitch, to put it mildly. But yeah, I believe you get in what you put out, so I'm not going to blame the school for my lack of academic achievement. I was so interested in the guitar, and by the time I left school, I was playing for hours a day. I then went to college, where at the time I studied a new type of course that covered music production and performance, and a little bit of drama and stagecraft. But I was so dead set on being a guitar player, and I found it wasn't really intensive enough. And I remember the guitar tutor would be asking me how to do stuff. He would be sort of watching how I would play, because I've got huge hands, and I would do things slightly differently, and he would be fascinated, and I'm like, "You're supposed to be teaching me. You're supposed to tell me how to do things." So I didn't really see any point, and I was progressing faster on my own. So I moved back home. And one drunken evening, a friend and I ended up putting makeup on, as you do. Don't you? Someone say yes. Just for laughs, but strangely, something stirred. And somewhere in fate's mousetrap maze, a ball started to roll. So I introduced myself onto the local club scene. This horrifying, sort of outlandish, almost alien-looking drag creature. Not really gendered in any sort of way, but I made myself bigger than life, bigger than I was for the first time ever, bigger and taller, and amplified my personality. I didn't actually realize at the time, but I really feel now that it was like a two-fingered salute to my past lack of confidence. And it's a very loud yes I can to those who always said I could not. Being constantly in the clubs, coupled with my love of music and my ability, it only sort of led me in one direction. I was that annoying person who used to stand by the DJ box and sort of stare. blankly at what the DJ was doing. And I became fascinated how one person could be like the pyramid pointing down to this one person of people's nights out entertainment, and how he could control the atmosphere and, and completely influence how people felt. And I had learned the technicality behind DJing when I was at that course in England. And yeah, one night a DJ called in sick in a club called Kremlin in Belfast. Has anyone been there? Oh God. Well, you used to work there, so you can say yes. Yes. Thank you. And the manager was like, oh, okay, yeah, the DJ is sick, so I'll give you a go. And then after that, I got offered a night on, I think it was New Year's Eve. And then after that, I got offered a residency. And I stayed there for 15 years. And even during the first few years of Game of Thrones, I would DJ until, I think, like 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning. And then I'd have to be on set for like 5 or 6. That's how I created Hodor. Kind of blank, a sort of hungover expression. It's called method acting. But I'll always be grateful to Kremlin because at that time they sort of took a chance on a slightly shy, almost 7 foot tall kid, and they believed in me, actually. So I'm very thankful for that. And through my work in drag, if we're getting to Game of Thrones now, okay? Through my work in drag, I had an agent who used to send me to occasional auditions. But despite my lack of real interest, he always believed I had some sort of spark or X factor, and I hate using that word X factor. And lo and behold, one of the auditions, it was for Simon Pegg's movie, Hot Fuzz. And I had been DJing the night before, and I got a plane straight to London. And I did this awful, with hindsight of audition techniques, I did the worst audition humanly possible in front of Nina Gold, who turned out to be one of the biggest casting directors in the world, unbeknownst to me. And I didn't get the part, funny enough. And 4 years later, I got a call back, and I got a message saying there's this new show, and I can't get you out of my head for this part. This is all ad-lib now, so I can't get you out of my head for this role. I think I was actually heading for lunch with you in a bar in Belfast, and I got a 15 minutes notice, and there was a message on my phone saying, do you know any children? So I replied swiftly, I don't really know any children, why? And he said, I have an audition for you, there's a new show starting to film in Belfast, and we need to find a child. So, do you have a net? No, I didn't have a net. So we found a 40th birthday party, actually, up in West Belfast, and how strange to think this led to actually getting the part. There was a group of adults and one poor child there, and he was placed upon my shoulders in front of all the parents. They were all sort of in a horseshoe shape around me, and they had to take turns to shout Hodor at me, and I would have to react in maybe 20... Shut up! in maybe 20, 30 different ways to show how I would do it, to show I had the chops of body language and demonstrating things with my body. It was very bizarre, and I believe if you really have the time in your hands, that horrible audition tape is somewhere on the internet. I did my best to get it removed, but it's definitely somewhere out there. But one thing led to another, and yeah, here I am in University College Dublin, getting an award. As you can imagine, Game of Thrones, forgive the pun, opens doors, also closes them. As you can imagine, I just read that part, okay. Just forget that. Yeah, so I've since had the amazing honour of taking classes in LA with the great John Ruskin. He's one of Sanford Meisner's direct proteges. And I got to take workshops with like Dylan McDermott and Sir Anthony Hopkins. And every time their advice to me was to stop trying to learn how to act and just do what I already did. Sure, learn like techniques, like vocal techniques and accents, But they saw a truth in what I did, and I tried to carry that truth with me every day. I never pretend to be anything ever that I'm not. And that definitely makes socializing in Hollywood interesting, you know. It allows me to bring truth to characters as well. And for example, with Hodor, it's such a simple and also at the same time complex character. It would have been so easy to overplay him, to turn him into some sort of clown. But while not completely losing a little bit of whimsy, I wanted you guys to see into his heart and his soul, and maybe a little sadness there. Sadness for someone who's a very kind and gentle soul who has been stuck mentally as a kind of lost child. Game of Thrones definitely changed my life, and chances that I've never dreamt of. I run the two jobs now, DJ and actor, along together. They don't really intersect ever, but I'm okay with that. It feels the same to me. It's the same performance headspace. This is where we get Miss World. If I had one wish for the world, it would be that other people could find their truth. I have a feeling that a lot of people are searching for it and are having a hard time finding it, actually. Having this, learning not to judge, being kind and respectful to those who are different, it's becoming vastly important and more important in today's rapidly changing world. I used to always say for things to truly change, that we would need a pretty major world event to bring people together, but I always used to tout that I would like an alien visitation, along with some warp drive plans, obviously. But maybe in some weird way, America and the UK are having their alien visitation now. You know, Donald Trump, Brexit. You know, it doesn't sound too positive. Well, you know, everyone has their points of view, but maybe these things are going to lead, conversely, to people unifying. I don't know, but I definitely hope so. I have great hope for the future, for myself and for humankind. There's no country, north or south, that I would be prouder to be from than Ireland, and to be a kind of ambassador for her as I travel the world. You guys, I believe, will find the answers that we don't have yet. So just be kind and respectful, and don't lose your hope. And that's it. So thank you for having me, guys. And the rest is down to you for questions, I believe.